Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Davis, and you are watching Season 3 of Conversations in Pop Culture, brought to you by my sponsors, Begtson Printing, the smarter way to print. I know printing your creative project can be confusing and stressful, but Begtson is here to make it easy. From their instant quote calculator that lets you get as many quotes as you want for free, to their 24-hour customer service support, Begtson is here to make sure your printing experience runs smoothly from start to finish. And right now, you can choose from a range of premium printing options and materials. And the company has also printed so many successful Kickstarter campaigns, a bunch of them you even have heard about on this very show. And they currently offer services in the United States, Canada, Australia, and the UK, and Begtson can print and reach your audience anywhere in the world. So if you're ready to print smarter, not harder, head over to Begtson.com. And right now they're running a promotion where listeners of my show can drop my name, Andrew Davis, in a message tab of a current order to get a 5% discount on their first order. So that is Mixam.com. Again, type my name, Andrew Davis, in the message tab of your current order to receive a 5% discount on your order. Also, I have BCW supplies, and you can get your bags, boards, long boxes, anything relating to comics, collectibles, Pokemon cards in their store. And if you type in Pop Anime Comics, you can get 10% off your entire order. And bags and boards are expensive right now. So if you have a Kickstarter and you're shipping out 300 comics, bagging and boarding them, 10% off can save you some money. So please use that code. And of course, I have my Kickstarter up and running to fund Season 3 of this show. So if you like this content and you want to see it continue, you want to be a guaranteed guest, you want a live read, you want a really cool metal card by a friend of mine we collabed on, check out the Kickstarter. It's in the link up above. And without further ado, I have one half of the creative team right now, Mike Bengtson, and hopefully Trish will be joining us in a few minutes. So welcome to the show.
Thanks.
Yeah, no, I am very excited because obviously you are in the middle of running your first Kickstarter, Brink Fetch, and you're doing very well right now, where I think you've crossed, the halfway mark. And you got like 27 days left or 26 days left or even more. And so before we really dive into the Kickstarter, what is the basic story of your comic for the first time people are hearing about it?
Brink Fetch, Just Want to Have Fun, is a story of two girls that are making up rules for love and magic, living their lives, trying to have a good time, and there are things in the world that plan on getting in the way. Supernatural things that they're not expecting.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, and we're going to get into some of it because I only know some of the story and some of the details. And I think Trish is about to join us in a second.
I am. I'm so sorry. Taco Bell was like a madhouse.
It's all good. It's all good. So obviously, Trish has just joined us. For everybody who is seeing this and possibly just listening to the audio. But where did this idea come from for this story? Because a lot's going on, and I know we're not going to spoil everything. But, and I'm speaking vaguely, purposely, because I don't want to ruin the story too much. Where did the idea come from for this?
No, I'm really good at policing myself. I ran the character Brink for a long time in a role-playing game that I played. I mean, I played Brink in the World of Darkness. I played it in some modern-day Pathfinder. I've played the character concept in several different games, and, I developed her personality, and, I thought it would work out fairly well. And then when it came to Trish asked me what I wanted to make a story of, the first thought I had was, I'm going to write a superhero story. And then I realized I've seen so many superhero stories. So I was like, well, I really like my character, so I could write stories about, my character and, her friends and everything in that. So, it sprang from that. Trish is part of all those games. It's not actually 100% from the games. It's based on things that I did in the games. But it'll be good, I think.
Well, Mike, see, and what he's not giving himself credit for is Mike has been collecting comics for, we'll say, a long time. Long time. And so, like, Mike has heard the superhero stories and a bunch of the supernatural. So that's the factor that a lot of people I don't think is factoring in is Mike's been around the block as a buyer of these, so he doesn't want to see the same old thing hashed. He wants something different and unique to him.
Yeah, let's dive into the story, because obviously what I've seen and what I've heard, and I've watched a few interviews that both of you have done and each of you have done somewhat separately, obviously a lot's going on. And I am really curious because Brink and Fetch are very interesting characters. I think it's no secret that they're a couple. They obviously are intimate with each other. I think that's like page one. You know, we're not pulling any punches here.
No,
I
and
can
we
show page one. Page one, guys.
We didn't want to hold anything back, but it's tastefully done. They're in bed together. I mean, it's a natural thing. You know, not everybody goes to bed with clothes on. You know what I mean? But it's not like Brink and Fetch are walking down the street and oops, magic happens and there comes my top and there goes my top and my boots drop out.
You don't have to defend it like that. It's
no, but I'm just saying I don't want people to think it's
more than it is.
A sex, right? It's not.
So to dive into this, and I promise we're going to get to that. I promise, because I don't think anybody's thinking of this in this way. Not everybody's thinking of it in this way, clearly. But what was this really like building out them as characters? Because obviously, you know, you've lived with one of these characters in a bunch of role-playing games, and then obviously building out the significant other, and then there's stuff going on in this world that obviously they are sort of, I guess, fighting and opposing. And what was this like really building out both their characters, building them out as a couple? Because it gets complicated when you're dealing with threats as a couple and that somebody's trying to kill you or somebody's trying to capture you or take you away. And now you're seeing your loved one fighting that force off, and you're fighting that force off with them possibly.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, we've dealt with it in games. We've role played forever, and it was kind of natural to take it to the comic. It was more difficult to nail down all the facts for the comics. When I started on the comic, Chuck, you know, talked to me about, you know, what I needed to do, and I needed to go through, and I needed to be able to answer just a ton of personal questions about the characters. And not just stuff that would definitely affect the story, but like, you know, their favorite color, their favorite, you know, restaurant, you know, all this kind of stuff. Because sooner or later it'll come up if you're telling the stories, and they should have their own individual identities like most people do. And, you know, how they react to danger, you know, what's their first, you know, instinct to do when something tries to get them. So, I mean, I think it works out fairly well. I mean, they respond like people should, I think.
Yeah,
and people.
And you can even see that in like one of the covers that David did where Fetch is kind of like trying to protect Brink distinctively in that cover, you know, like, hey, no, you can't get near her. Even though, you know, it's a gorgeous cover and it's kind of sexy. No, she's protective. Yeah. See where her arm is and trying to like, you know,
Fetch is bigger than Brink.
Right. But it is also like a stance on that as it shows how protective she is.
So even to talk about this, because this is something that is very interesting and I'm actually very curious about how you even built this out, where obviously they are a couple, but they also live, breathe, and they have feelings for each other. And what was that like really capturing that relationship side of things? Because it's something that to some degree does lack in comics, where I think people forget that, you know, these are, I don't want to say they're real people, but they also are real people to some degree. And that's working.
I hope I do them justice, giving them, you know, feelings, and their relationship is fairly unique. They should react like, you know, people do.
But the fact that you've done 10 years plus with them in different systems also gives him the insight that, you know, this is what's going to happen or that's going to happen because this happened. You know what I mean? It's an insight that a lot of creators, I think, that are just in it for the quick pop don't have experience with those characters to really kind of.
I mean, good creators are going to give their characters real emotions. I mean, all good creators. But yeah, I mean, some people take and they're very one-dimensional characters.
Right.
But I mean, you'll figure that out.
Right, and that's definitely not what these girls are. I mean, they are, in a sense, are like our daughters. You know what I mean? They're our kids, and you know, Mama doesn't want to see the kids having sex, but Mama knows that kids have sex.
They're not our kids.
Our actual kid here who voiced Brink for the video is here, and she's giggling.
Yeah. For Trish to compare them, I mean, your characters are like children, sort of, but I mean, you don't look at them like that. That leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
And this is the day Andrew's sponsor left him, clearly. Begtson doesn't really care what I say on my show, as long as I'm bringing them clients. They're very happy with me at this point. But all jokes aside, and what is that like, though, to really understand your characters? Because I think you guys were touching on something very interesting, where I think a lot of creators don't know their characters, don't know what their characters are going to do, don't have an idea of how their character is supposed to sound, and they say, hey, I'm going to do a 4-issue miniseries, run this thing, try to just get into comics and try to make money with it, and I enjoy telling this story, but I don't want to be emotionally truly invested, and they don't want to like go to war and stay in a foxhole with their character in a lot of ways. And it's a lacking problem, I feel, in comics, where there's not a genuine connection anymore to character.
Yeah. I mean, I think it happens sometimes in comics, but I mean, the better creators are gonna be there with their characters. I mean, they're gonna try to make their characters very unique and very personable and stuff. And you know, being around indie comics, you run the full gauntlet of people, very one-dimensional characters and very layered characters as you go along. I'm hoping that these characters are layered. I mean, I hope they have depth to them, and that people are really happy to get the adventure, read the adventure, and come back for the next issue.
And the other benefit we have is me and Mike started this whole process as buyers of comics. Everybody knows Trish and Mike usually back a lot of Kickstarters, which we do, but we wanted to go beyond that, but we wanted something that could actually we could be really proud of. And Brink and Fetch are definitely what we can be proud of. And I think you can tell at the talent that we got for this, we just didn't want this to be a one-trick pony. We want it to stand out. We wanted this to really cement us as part of the group.
I already told him that you got all the talent.
Yeah.
I got Chuck. You got everybody after Chuck.
So we're going to table that for a second here, because I do want to dive a little bit more into the story. And I promise we're going to talk all about the covers and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But also one of the things that I really like about what I've read so far and what I've heard, obviously with your book, is you've created a world that is very cool, where it's fun, it's recognizable, but there is magic in it. And things can happen that are more supernatural, but it's also not foreign. And I think that's also something that is a very unique skill at this point, because while I do like going into world building and going into a brand new world where anything could happen, I also like to be grounded in stories at this point. And so what was that like, really setting that out? Because, obviously you have your characters grounded and you know what your characters are going to do, but I have a feeling I know what this world can do with a few surprises, but I don't feel like Godzilla is going to come out of nowhere, for instance. Or, there's going to be a mecha, fight out of nowhere. I feel like, it's sort of in the realm of Harry Potter to some degree, but also in New York City is how I feel it is, where it's both those things that I recognize.
It is really great when things come out of nowhere and catch people by surprises. But a mecha fight, yeah, maybe you should have had some warning that was going to happen, that's for sure. But I've been role-playing since I was very young, and my mom bought me the basic set for D&D at Target. So that's 100,000 years ago. That's how long ago that happened. So I mean, so I built worlds, I made characters, and I've made ecosystems of how things work for a long time. So this was kind of second nature. I mean, a lot of GMs do it all the time. They set things up. You go, Todd.
So no, but that goes into saying how dedicated Mike is. I mean, he's been gaming for 40 years. So basically, it's the fact of you take D&D, you take White Wolf, you take all these systems, champions, GURPS, any of them and every of, and Mike is a whole melting pot, and that's what these girls are stemming from, is 40 plus years of gaming into one. And so like he's got it down pat. I mean, and I know he knows what he's doing, and with Chuck by his side, sky's the limit at what's going to happen with these girls.
And the reason why I bring this up is that obviously I find that world building with creators, and most comics I read, it's either I'm driven by characters or I'm driven by the world. And what I find with creators, and the best of the best, you know, have both of those things down, but typically people really know how to build a world out extensively, or they know how to build out characters. Like, I'm not a good world builder. I know how to build a complicated character. And
I really severely doubt that. No, I bet you would make, if I'm like, okay, here's the D&D, here's the sheets, here's our dice, let's make a world, and I guarantee you, Andrew, you'd make something fun. And would it be like the most memorable? Maybe not. But are we going to have fun? I believe you would do that for us.
So no, the reason why I say all this is because I love psychological characters, and I love exploring characters, and it's what I love doing. I love diving into complicated characters who are massively conflicted, and that's what I'm drawn to, and that's what I like to write about more so than world building, because I actually like the human psyche, and that's what I love. But you know, I'm not saying I can't build an interesting world and have a good time in a world, but I also like to play and write in the real world. So I like dealing with more, you know, I guess nonfiction things and events and commenting on things and of that nature. And that's just what I like. And I could bring somebody into that world, but I don't know if I'm the best world creator more than a character creator, because I love creating characters and ideas and conflictions. But I think that you guys really figured out how to do both, because we have, you know, Brink Fetch, and then we have this world, and then the world sort of lends itself to a conflict to some degree, and well, they're being targeted in a world that they just want to have fun in, and they're not, and the world is a fun world where it's really an open world for them, yet they're being forced and confined into a situation where they have to deal with a problem. And it's very interesting because it plays off nicely with their characters and what they want to do, and it creates, and maybe I'm reading too much into this, but it almost creates like a secondary internal conflict.
Well, it even shows you on the Kickstarter, like the girls, they want to go play on the swings, and that's on the Kickstarter page. You know, there's the girls, you know, it does have, they're smoking a joint and trying to swing, right? You know what I mean? And there's conflict. They're just trying to have a good time hanging out, and there's conflict.
Bad things happen in the world.
That's right. Bad stuff happens in the world. The girls are just, they're like, wow, we just want to smoke a little and swing on the swings.
I mean, in my personal life, I'm sitting here starving, and our daughter brought the food in, put it just out of the reach. No, I'm giving you crap.
Mike's just giving you a hard time, Tori.
I'm not going to eat while, you know, we're still doing this.
Don't worry, they dissected the boxes for added fun.
But you see it in there. I mean, that every chance the girls just want to have a little bit of fun, and something always is like,
well, things happen in the world. I mean, that's the nature of the world. That's
right.
And so there's a lot of stuff going on, and obviously I don't want to push any further into the story because I don't want to ruin it, and I know certain things have been spoiled slightly, and I know certain things haven't been, and I know that You, Trish, might spoil the entire story for everybody, and I'm just saying.
No, Trish
No,
has been really
I'm trying
good.
to be the good Tom Hollands. I'm not trying to be the bad one. I'm trying to be the good one. I don't tell it all.
And so I'm not going to push too further in because I actually want people to actually back your project. But I do want to talk about inside baseball, and we did table certain aspects of it. And one of the things that you two have made crystal clear is that this is a mature book. And that's something that I like at this point, where what is that like, and what was that conscious decision to say, hey, we're going to make this a mature book, pull no punches, and tell the story we want to tell and have no censor on it, and not have to worry about hitting a PG or a PG-13, because that's something that I think creators really struggle with, is saying, how far can I go and what can I publish, what can't I publish, and who am I trying to target?
Yeah, it was a decision to make in the very beginning, because you can either try to stay away from the line of it's too graphic, or you can just, this is a mature book, I'm going to do what I want to do. I don't plan on having giant sex orgies in the book, unless something causes a giant sex orgy in the book. I mean, if that naturally occurs, okay, it'll happen, because I didn't censor myself. In this day and age, if the monsters are trying to get them and there's too much violence, how much violence is still kid friendly? I'm not 100% sure where you got to draw the line. When Wolverine pops a claw into somebody, should that be a mature book? I mean, I was just like, and it didn't fit to tell the story I wanted to tell, to really censor it a lot. I mean, I could have tried. I didn't think it would come out very well. So
we just decided it was best to come out, with the gloves fully on, and we have an adult title. But if there's no other boobs, if there's no other whatever, because it's not the right time to tell that part, that's fine. But if issue 7 or 8 has boobs, guess what? We didn't hold the kitty gloves. We wanted to make sense where the violence and the boobs are, or whatever, you know what I mean?
Well, the violence, the boobs, the drug usage, whatever,
right,
we want to put in it.
But we want it,
title.
Right. We want it to be natural feeling. We don't want it to be in your face type. Like, if you go out with your friends on a normal night, hey, everybody has a beer. Maybe even some of them go outside and go have a little bit of smoke. That's their choices. You know what I mean? But that's just natural. And that's what I want this book to be, is a natural.
And so to even go further into that, because this is one of the things that I think is very interesting, is that obviously I'm a huge Zenescope fan, and they have Z-rated books. Obviously, I just picked up a book from Jim Noble on his Kickstarter, and I didn't pick up a nude book. I picked up an awesome book by Mercer Pope, because that book looks sweet from like the anniversary, last year or maybe earlier this year. I'm not exactly sure, but it just looks like an awesome cover. But it's the idea that, what is it like to know that, you can, hey, we're just going to tell a story at this point? Because that's what I think people are really having a hard time with in comics right now, saying, I have to balance the ability to tell a story versus getting backers or getting into a distributor or being in a comic shop. And it is tricky when you have to make those decisions and make real business decisions. And, it happens with me. And I'm lucky that, my sponsor doesn't tell me who I can say, who I can interview. And if they did, I would drop them really quickly, because that's not how I operate. So what is that like for you, knowing that, well, everybody's sort of getting signed and figuring out that thing? I know this is your first Kickstarter, so obviously that's something that, I don't know, you knew if that sort of was in the back of your head.
There's two ways of going about it. Being a mature book means that some comic shops won't carry it, which kind of is rough, but it means those that do carry it, understand and are fine with it. Our local comic shop said that they're going to put it on their shelves, but I've bought mature titles down there. They're very good about screening them. They'll black bag the ones that have nudity on the cover. So, I mean, there's that. But I think it's the right way to go. I mean, I'd prefer it. And
I would tell Mike I wouldn't want it any other way, because we didn't run those. You didn't run those girls like that. Like, they were PG-13. I mean, so why try to fit into this realm where it's sociably acceptable?
well, I mean,
I wouldn't want Mike to box his creativity up in any sort of way.
when I buy my books, I buy titles that are definitely, I buy Marvel titles.
Mhm.
Those are going to be kid friendly or kid sort of friendly.
Right.
But yeah, I buy Zimbascope books sometimes, and I bought nude covers before. When I buy from Jim, I'm going to buy whichever cover appeals to me the most, and if it's a nude cover, that's the one I'm getting. So I mean, it's just that's how my life goes.
And do you also feel, because we're going to get to the new covers in a second here and a variety of the awards you have, but do you also feel that there's also been a cultural shift in a lot of ways where, 10 years ago, I don't think that, having more sexy girls on covers and what is quote unquote bad girl art would be so prevalent, or even the idea to have a story that could push the lines. And, obviously I've seen it in writing. I'm a huge dirty realism fan. And, I love Charles Bukowski and, Raymond Carver and all those guys. And even still, like, they pushed the line in literature back in the day. And now I feel that companies like Zenescope, people like Jim, and a variety of other people, especially now in the last 4 years on Kickstarter, are really saying we're pushing the line on what covers can be out there, what stories could be told, and what we can and can't do in comics. And I think people have also said we're sort of ready for this too. And you feel that's also a part of it at this point, where we've come to the stage where people are saying this is okay now, where 10 years ago, I feel like people weren't ready for it.
Well, yeah, 10 or more years ago. Well, it's far more. I used to go to my local comic shop, probably closer to 20 years ago, actually. And when the catalogs came out for my books, because I got one every month, because I order a lot of books from Marvel and DC and several other publishers sometimes, there also came a catalog with it that was adult stuff. Comics for adults. Bondage Fairies springs to mind because Trish thought Bondage Fairies was really funny. And it's probably at least 20 years old that it was a naked comic that you could get, but it was a totally separate catalog, and he only gave that to adults that asked for it. So I mean, nowadays you can look at the Diamond catalog, and Zindascope has mature covers in it sometimes. They don't show pictures of them, but you can order the mature cover if you ask your comic shop.
But see, you can also, like 20 years ago, when we go down the artist alley, or when we're at Chicago Con, you kind of knew which companies or which creators had that naughty cover behind the desk that you had to ask for too. So you just had to know where to look if you wanted to.
20 years ago, when you went down Artist Alley, you could get a naked rogue from basically every artist at Artist Alley.
Yep.
Because it was super common.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you had to ask, like, hey, do you have any rogue? And they'd be like,
Right. You just had to open your eyes. It's all, the sex has always been there, and the sexiness. It's just you had to look in the right spots for it.
But nowadays, like
yeah,
Andrew
it's just
said,
more like in your face.
Yeah, it's coming more accepted.
Right.
I mean,
I'll explain why. The only reason why I know a lot of this stuff. So I buy and sell comics on eBay. And one of the things is that I don't sell nude covers for two reasons. A, eBay sometimes takes them down. And then eBay has also aggressively shut down people's accounts for selling nude covers because it wasn't labeled properly. So I don't have a problem with nudity. I'm all for nudity, everybody. I want to make that crystal clear. I have a problem when eBay is taking it down and it puts my business at risk, which is a different discussion. Now, on Kickstarter, it's different. You know, if I produce a comic, which I may do it this year, I may do it next year, depending on my finances, I haven't decided if I'm going to do nude covers. But it's also the artist where I'm going to say certain artists might not want to be associated with that, or they might not want to do it. And also the art might be so beautiful that doing a nude cover, that same cover, might ruin the first cover. And so I don't know if I'm going to do a nude cover, but I'm not against it if the situation.
If it makes sense. Like in our case, we had a Steph Wilson cover. You know what I mean? And as Steph Wilson is an artist, everybody knows he draws the boobs. So to have those boobs out there, it made sense. Not that I know he would do it for me if I asked him, Chris Mad, but his cover that he did for us did not need to be topless. It's beautiful the way it is. If it makes sense, then do that naked cover. But if you're just trying to push the nudity, don't do it. I wouldn't, because you'll see in ours, we only have 2 actual topless covers and everybody else is clothed. So.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's also just working with the artist. I mean, David said, do you want a risque cover? And we're like, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that cover works both clothed and, you know, it's a little weirder with them naked, actually, because if you're just in the park naked. But, you know, there is a risque version of the cover. They're just in the park naked.
So I definitely want to table this too for a second, because we're going to show the pictures of all the rewards. But I do want to highlight a certain point about your comic as well. That's a little bit of an aside, and then we're going to dive into all these covers. But one of the things that the two of you made a decision on, which I think is the right way how to do Kickstarter, is that you had all of it written, drawn. I think the majority, if not all, was colored. I think all of it was.
It's the book is completely 100% done, except our friend Doug Brown is doing a special cover with 10 people, and they can be on that cover, but it's only going to take them a month to get it done.
So you know the question that's coming, and the reason why I'm asking it is that obviously I'm waiting on certain books to be finished and be completed, and you know, obviously things happen in the Kickstarter world, things get delayed. And what was that like? Because I like when a Kickstarter is done, it was 90% done. And so what prompted that decision? Because I think it also changes the way the Kickstarter flows. I think it changes the way that people view it. And I also think it creates an act of confidence, especially if it's your first one, which I think it's both of yours as first one. And so
this is our first one. And a lot of people, and Travis is in the conversations. I went to a lot of the creators myself, and I'm like, I have questions. I went to our printer, and I have looked at all the other printers, all the big ones that everybody uses.
A lot of printers.
Right. And I discovered our local printer will do the same thing. He prints other local comics around here. And he's like, I can do that for you. I said, do you have a paper shortage? No. Do you have an ink shortage? No. So when I give it to you, when am I going to see it? He's like, as soon as you want it done, Trish, and I can fit you in, and you and Mike can watch them come off the presses. You guys can watch your books come off the presses if that's what you want to do. You pick them up from me. So then I'm not paying for shipping, or, you know, from point A to point B. I'm going to go pick it up, and I'm going to have it in my hands, and then I'm going to get it to you as soon as I can, because I want the best quality. Because me and Mike are in that same boat that you are, where you have been waiting for certain Kickstarters, waiting a couple years. It's like, when are you going to do this? You're leaving us high and dry. I don't want people to worry about, you know, are Mike and Trish going to fulfill? I want them to be like, I know Mike and Trish are going to fulfill, because I have done my research. I know what I need to do to get it to you as quick as I can, at the best quality I can. And like, honestly, and not trying to be selfish on this, but for the right price for us too, so that we don't have to charge you an arm and a leg.
Well, I mean, all the best creators have a good turnaround.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sometimes there's hiccups in the road. You can't stop that. I mean,
No.
If your printer tells you that he's got to take 2 extra weeks, you're hand tied there. But a lot of the creators that I hear and I see on a lot of these broadcasts, they put their book out. They tell you when they're going to get it to you, and if they're even a month late, they're writing you and telling you. Now there are Kickstarters we've backed, and I certainly wouldn't go into them, but sometimes those Kickstarters take an extremely long time to get to me. And I recently had one Kickstarter that there was plenty of updates, but I was like, wow, this is really, really late. And it was a great book. And I'm super happy. Finally, I was just super happy. But the book was held up a long time. And that's rough. I mean, that's rough when your money goes out and it's a year later that, the product comes in. I don't want that to be a thing. I'm hoping that after the Kickstarter ends and we know who's all going to go on that cover, Doug will start on that cover. He said it'll take him less than a month to get that done. And then the book's done other than that. So we'll just put the book together, get it to the printer, and, should start printing it right then. So a couple months, we should be able to have books in people's hands.
Right. Mike and Chuck are currently working on issue 2 as we're talking now, and so like we want to be mainstream. We want to be
we want to be indie.
We're indie mainstream. You know what I mean? We want at least to have a few books in your hand every year. But we're trying our best.
So let's even talk about that, because this is super interesting, because obviously things have changed in indie comics. And I know we're going to get to covers, everybody. I promise. So before anybody starts attacking me, I promise. But obviously things have changed in indie where there's been a more demand for it. People have been getting signed. Obviously you and I probably know a bunch of people who have signed deals with either Scout or Second Sight Publishing, or there's a variety of others. And now they're trying to get into comic stores, and also turnaround time has to kick up. And obviously there's sort of, I don't want to say a challenge to DC or Marvel, because you can't really challenge a giant so easily, but there's clearly an alternative now. And what is that like? Because indie is not becoming indie anymore in a lot of ways, where everybody is becoming almost an imprint or a small publisher. And there's been a real shift, and it's not just in comics. It's in everything. I'm a huge wrestling fan. I'm a huge Beyond Wrestling fan. That's a big company now. GCW is a real competitor to both those companies. Are the 2 largest wrestling companies outside of the WWE and AEW. And so obviously things have shifted. And what is that like? Because it's a weird time to be an indie creative.
Well, it's also a really good time to be here. The possibilities are pretty big. I mean, after you get several issues out, you could sign with an imprint. You could have your books in stores then. You could make, even more money than you originally planned on making. We've seen a few of the people, get in stores that way, get in Diamond catalogs. It's an exciting time. I mean, probably a lot to dream that, Marvel will come to me and say, hey, I want you to start writing Majik. But, as far as like an imprint, coming and saying, now that you've made 4 issues of the book, we'd like to put it out. That could happen. That's a possibility.
The indie community is just getting bigger and better. And, yes, there's always going to be the big 2, but I mean, look at Brian, look at Tom Hutchinson, look at Travis Burnell. Oh, they're look at Travis Gibbs. I mean, these guys are just, they can go toe to toe with DC and Marvel. I mean,
no.
Well,
they cannot go toe to toe
with the quality
with DC
of work.
and Marvel.
With the quality of work,
their work can be great.
That's right. With their quality of work, and so like you just got to give us a little bit of time to get up there to their caliber, their levels, and this is an amazing community. And anybody that says indie world is just cat fighting, and I'm just like, no, it's not. It's not. You just have to know where to look and find the right people that are there to help support you and push you up. And when you have the 6 a.m. phone calls, oh my gosh, I didn't get my cover today. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And they have to bring you off the ledge. You'll get it, Trish. You'll get it. Breathe, breathe, breathe. You're not launching yet. Breathe, breathe, breathe. But I'm supposed to get it. I'm supposed to get it. And, so
yeah, you should
amazing.
You should just tell Trish not to call at 6 a.m. That's what you should do.
But they all are my friends. They'll take my 6 a.m. phone call. I was supposed to get this last night. So.
Yeah, see. This is another question actually that I have. So obviously, I'm in the middle of my Kickstarter. I got about 14 days left, and if you're like, "Oh, you're gonna freak out about things. You're gonna be so concerned," I'm like, I'm not that concerned about it. What was annoying to me is that I'm obviously doing my podcast and funding that, and so I've gotten a lot of pushback and a lot of criticism, and I got a lot of people calling me out saying, "Oh man, you're only doing like 5 views when they're not looking at the 6 other platforms I'm on." And so what I've gotten, and some people have been very supportive, and I'm like, people are only looking at the tip of the iceberg and not seeing the whole iceberg beneath the water. And so I've discovered a very, very, very complicated position by the indie community. And now I'm a little bit jaded. It's also forced me to sort of change my battle plan a little bit on what I'm doing for the rest of the year. So, the trolls have sort of won a little bit on that round when they forced to change. But I don't know how you two feel and what that's been like for you, because I've had a very different experience. I've had a lot of pushback from people at certain companies, calling me out, and editors at certain companies. And I'm not going to put anybody on blast, but I'm like, what the fuck? And
so because I don't pay a lot of attention to the negativity, what are you getting the pushback for?
So I'm getting the pushback of just like funding a podcast and guaranteed guest spots and live reads, and just people going like ballistic on me for saying, hey, why would I want to advertise on your show? Why would I want to do this? And like, it's not that I'm not interested or you're not for me. It's that you're being greedy. You're being this. And like, people are going after me hard. And also people are saying, oh, this other guy is better than you. And like, it's been rather nasty. And, it's been a weird experience. And I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but that was not what I was expecting.
Well,
when I came into
I am
it.
so sorry you're getting that kind of pushback, because
It makes me.
I enjoy the fact that I watched just a few days ago, and you had somebody we look up to. You had Jim on your show, and I was like there. I'm like, he has Jim, baby. We're gonna follow Jim. We're gonna follow, and I'm like jumping up and down. I'm excited.
I've had a very different experience, and I'm not saying I'm leaving Kickstarter. It's just been like, it's been a lot of pushback, and look, there's been support too, but just the people, and it was just like vicious, and it was like 4 or 5 days of just, and I was like, do I even want to continue? And so it's been a very different experience for me.
I think part of your different experience comes from the fact that, you're talking a podcast versus a comic. There are a lot of people doing podcasts. There are a lot of people doing comics. And you're getting compared to those other people doing podcasts. If you take my comic and you put it up against the last issue of Lady Death, you'll find that my comic is a complete and utter failure, because Brian Polito did about $380,000 on his last Kickstarter. So, I mean, if somebody's like, Mike, you're a failure, look at what your comic's doing next to Brian Polito's comic. Okay, but I don't have anybody trying to, directly compare me to that comic book creator. So, I mean, you're being compared to other podcasters,
right,
and that's
right. You're comparing apples and
It-
oranges.
it's not-
You
it-
want
it-
your own
it-
cherry. Everybody wants the cherry.
So what it was is that I think people were just snapping because it's like, hey guys, I run a comic book interview podcast. If you're interested or you like what you see, you could check it out. But it was just that extra step. And it wasn't saying, hey, I'm running, because I didn't even put it on anybody's comic. I just put it to these comic book groups that, hey, if you want to guaranteed guest spot, this, that, and the other. And what was going on is that people were then like comparing me to other artists and calling out other artists saying, oh, this other podcaster knows this artist. And I'm like, what the fuck? It was just a very odd and off-putting.
You just get rid of those haters, and because I've been hated on in some groups too.
You can't get rid of haters.
No, but you just try to avoid them the best you can and be like, hey, I don't want to see what this person has to say because it's just negativity and you don't need it in your life. And that's the way I look at life. Life is good. And everybody that's like, oh, my life is so bad. I'm like, you know what? No, it's not. Look. Just open your eyes. There's always something better.
Well, we keep seeing, because Steph Wilson is our friend on Facebook, he gets haters. Mm-hmm. They pop up. They tell him how bad he's doing. And it's sort of funny because Steph's comfortable in his life, I believe. He's happy with what he does. And he's having a good time. And so when the hater's like, oh, this is wrong or that's wrong, he's just like, I don't need you to continue on my life.
So for me, it was just so off base because I thought I was going to get criticized on a bunch of other things. And like, this was not what I was expecting. I'm like, what the fuck? And it also showed me a very different side of the indie comic world where I've gotten people say, oh, I'm not a good interviewer, but I've never gotten that much just like animosity. And it was just like pure, just like, I want to just tear you down. And that's what it was, in my view. And I showed it to my friends. My friends were like completely shocked too, saying like, we expect you to be challenged on merits or ideas or being wrong about, comic book investing, which obviously Larry Higgins has challenged me on, and Tom has challenged me on, and Ben Dunn disagrees with me on that point. But I'm still friends with all three of those people because they've never made it personal. And that's what was so weird to me, is that there's all these people in the comic world who are making it like a personal attack. And so I've had a very different experience where I've had like both in the same campaign in like the last 15 days. So that's why I asked this, because for me, it's been a very different experience as a podcaster versus writing a comic. And I'm just like, why? Like that's my only question, is that I don't understand the entire merit of what happened. And it's still baffling to me, and it stopped.
You know what you do? I mean, you listen to what they say thank you for your input. I'll take it to heart, and you go your way, and you take what you want from it, and just walk away.
Well, you try.
You try.
So I'll tell the story of how I dealt with a troll on this. So this guy kept going. So after like the 19th time on a separate thing, I legitimately said, thank you very much. Stop right there. I need somebody with a human heart. And then I put up the Spice Girls song, Stop. And it legitimately stopped him. So that's how I'm dealing with it now, is that I'm just letting everybody know, if you troll me, you're getting a bunch of Spice Girl songs as a response. I'm just saying, it's game on.
This only makes me want to troll him.
I know.
Mike
likes the Spice Girls. So, I mean, he bought their CD. I didn't buy it. Mike bought the CD. So, I'm like,
I'm just saying, it's game on. And then when I run out of Spice Girl songs, so they only have like 4 CDs, which isn't really
Can I get Spice Girl songs if I don't troll you?
So I'm just saying that, and then I go through Backstreet Boys. I got NSYNC up and running. And then we'll go to the 80s.
So, if you're in the 80s, I'm going to start trolling you, because that's my jam in the 80s. I mean,
no, I don't want a bunch of Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. I mean, couldn't we just stay with the Spice Girls?
But I digress. But I was very curious, because what I've seen in the comic world a lot of times is that there's a lot of positivity, and I got some of it, but I did not expect the whole negativity on my thing. And I get that I'm a podcast and I was expecting back push, but I wasn't expecting that, because I've seen people be like, oh man, this looks cool. Oh, this looks awesome. And, obviously Travis has given me advice prior to this, Chuck's given me advice, and a few other people, but I also saw a very different side of the comic world. And I don't know how to politically say correctly, but I think that there are people in the comic world who may not be the best communicators as well. I think
that's probably a very nice way of saying it.
You just got to find your core of your tree. This world is your tree. This comic book world, the podcast, whatever. and you just keep those people that help strengthen your core close to you. And you branch off, and sometimes you just get a bad branch and it just is diseased and infected, and just cut it off and get rid of it.
Well, it really sounds rough, although. I mean, because you're being directly compared to other podcasters where, as a comic creator, I'm not being directly compared to Brian Lito. I'm not being told that I'm not doing what Tom Hutchinson is doing. Why am I here? I didn't get any of that. So, I mean, creating comics seems to be a lot different than podcasting. I mean, they're not looking for me to be the same as these other people. I love Travis Gibbs' work. I've backed several of his projects. I've read basically everything he's done. But nobody's come out and told me I'm not doing what Travis is doing, so why am I in comics? I mean, they never got me with that. So that negativity doesn't seem to get comic book creators as much as it's getting podcasters.
It was a weird experience, and it was also from comic creators saying it. It wasn't from fellow podcasters. And that's the other thing, too, that was so weird about it, is that the people who were attacking me it was almost like an orange is attacking an apple over a watermelon. Like, it's so weird, the way I describe it. And, like, it was also just, like, such weird statements coming at me. I would have much preferred like a dick pic in my Twitter inbox. Like, genuinely, it would have been so much more pleasant than everything. And I would not want that either. So that's all I'm going to say on that point. But
well, I have to give you kudos. Normally on these shows, and we've been on a few, normally it's just my big mouth running, and Mike usually doesn't open up. And I know I got a big mouth. But you're asking questions that, you're actually talking to Mike, and not just Mike and Trish. You're actually talking to Mike. So kudos for that.
That's partially luck, too. You were at Taco Bell getting me food when we started.
But he's actually talking to you, and not just
I was talking to him before you got here.
We're not one entity. We are actually two entities. Even though it's our project, you know what I mean? You're talking to Mike. You're talking to me. And so I want to thank you for that.
I mean, it's just called interviewing. It's genuinely not that difficult. Like, I say that openly because it's just not that hard. Like, I've been doing this for so long. This is like second nature.
Right. So I'm giving you kudos that you are recognizing us as our own individuals and not just
everybody has done that.
Well, but I'm just saying he's doing a good job of it, that he's recognizing you and conversing with you and then conversing with me. And you know what I mean? And it's not just a general direction at the Bengtsons.
Okay. But I mean, most creators have tried to be engaging to both of us. Just sometimes I'm distracted.
You're the quiet one.
Or I'm eating my food.
So enough about my Kickstarter problems. Clearly, that's my pontification, and it's my show, so I can go do that.
You can do whatever you want. We're totally supportive. You want to rant and rave some more? Go ahead. Mike's like, just give me my burrito or my taco while you go rant and rave. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No, we would never do that.
No,
but I do want to talk about reward.
We're gonna go for a few more minutes.
Well, I absolutely do want to talk about rewards because you have a bunch of them, and I have a bunch.
Are we going to talk about the scratch and sniff bra and panty sets?
We're going to let Andrew talk, and then we're going to respond.
Okay.
Well, I figured
that's mine. That's mine. I'm so excited for that.
I figured we would talk about the covers first and foremost, and actually show them because that's what people want. I'm a variant guy. I appreciate variants. And first and foremost, anybody really can afford this book because you have a digital version of it for $5. So I do want to get that out there. Obviously, Australia's fucked up. New Zealand's fucked up as far as
we don't know how we're going to do international shipping. I mean, if somebody's international really wants the books, reach out to us.
We're going to figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
The only reason why I know is that CB Zane just sent out a message on Kickstarter saying to all my Australian backers, and I actually didn't check, so if it changed, somebody please correct me. But Australia, from the last time I checked, about a month ago, you can't ship anything into that country. I think New Zealand's very similar, and there's other places in the world. And so obviously, anybody who wants this book, digitally is first and foremost the easiest to get it if you are outside the United States. So I'm just throwing that out there to everybody who wants it. But more importantly, you have a bunch of covers, and I'm going to get the name wrong, so correct me when I get the name wrong, please. But I believe it's Sergio Rios did this cover.
That's perfect. That's perfect. He's our interior artist.
Yeah.
He does hillbilly monsters. He does his own comic book too, and he just actually got into Germany, I think, with his. So it was an honor to work with him.
And so obviously this is just the regular cover. I think it's one of the cheaper covers that can be picked up, and it's pretty friendly as far as a cover goes.
Well, it's an homage to Cyndi Lauper's "Girls Just Want to Have Fun" album, and it's Sergio Rios and Shauna Mad colored it, and as the main cover, it's supposed to be the most affordable. It's the one we'll produce the most of. It's the one that will largely sell at cons if we do cons later on. And I liked it. It's a decent cover.
And then I think also in the same price range, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the blank cover. And I don't have a picture of that.
No. Well, we didn't put one up there. Everybody knows what a blank cover is.
Yeah. Oh, I'm making sure I didn't mess up here.
No, we didn't put. I mean, if it's a blank cover, everybody knows what it is. It's gonna have the logo on it,
and that's about it.
And that's it.
That's so the artist can draw on the cover.
Yep.
And then I want to talk about these because this one is cool, and it's the David Froth, I want to say, and obviously this is what it looks like, and this is kind of what we were speaking about a little bit before. And so we have, I think, Fetch protecting Brink. And so what was this like really building this out? Because it's brightly colored, lots going on.
This cover actually has a story. David fought COVID and almost lost his sight. And this is the first thing he worked on. He actually drew this and colored it himself after he got his sight back. So, this was a huge accomplishment for him.
And then talking about it and going deeper into it, obviously we get nudity. And what was even just going nudity? Because you only have, this is one of two of the nudity covers out there, but obviously what was this like really having that in there too? Because nudity gets people's attention. Some people love nude covers, and maybe the cover doesn't make sense that they're nude in the park, but I like girls naked swinging on swing sets, so
I think there's an audience for it because I read a lot of Zendoscope books, and Zendoscope Z-rated covers are nothing but ta-da.
Well, and you were speaking about Larry. Larry said we should have made the buggy guy's eyes even bigger on this one than on the original. You know what I mean? To show, boom, Baba baby.
And so what is this like? To even just do this and also hit that niche, because we all know that obviously variant covers do help get people funded on Kickstarter, and then nude covers also help because usually there's an additional cost for a nude book, and higher tiers matter when you're trying to get funded and recoup what you put into the book, and also just getting into more hands and get attention to it, because this is the type of thing that somebody will share out, whether it's this as a regular cover or this as a nude cover. People are going to want to share it out, say, hey, look what I got, or look at what's going on with this cover, or you throw it up into a Facebook group, it gets attention. So what is that like for you? Because it obviously carries more than just economic value, it carries social value.
Well, yeah, I mean, it expresses, what we said. We weren't going to limit ourselves. We didn't make every cover a nude cover, but we didn't hold back if the artist was good with it. We're run with it.
And here's the thing too, a lot of Kickstarters now, and I'm not trying to be mean, but a lot of them aren't completed, and they're using the money from Kickstarter to help finish their project. We paid for everything up front. You know what I mean? From every artist to every cover, everything is covered. And our main prize on this is just to get it to the printer and then get more eyes on the prize. It's not to to fund it in any sort of real way. It was just to really get people to see Brink and Fetch and bring them more out there.
Yeah, and to even go into that, and I think this is what I was trying to allude to a little bit before, is that obviously with my Kickstarter, my funding, I'm making no money on my project. It is legitimately to cover my expenses so that I could survive another year and that maybe I could go buy a 6-pack of beer. Like, seriously, that's what it's really for, because running any project is expensive. So if people think I'm making money on my podcast, and I think that's something that people don't understand sometimes in a business. Sometimes the idea is that you don't need to make money on your first issue in a comic. You just need to get to that first issue, get more eyes on it, and then build infrastructure, which is what I'm doing. And that's something that I think people don't understand about what my project is that this is the infrastructure, because if I complete my infrastructure, which is I'm going to do most likely in 2023, 2024, 2025, then, my costs become lower and I could do a lot more. So I think that's what you guys are doing in a lot of ways. I think it's very cool. And I think it's something that creators need to understand is maybe you should lose money on your first issue just to get started and get it out there, but don't go broke. If you lose 10% and you put, $9,000 into it and you only recoup 8, but now you're in the game and more people are checking you out, you can make your money on issues 2, 3, 4, and then a trade paperback. And I think that's something that people have to understand, is that sometimes you just got to survive for the next round.
Actually, that's the financial information that Chuck gave us. He was like, guys, guess what? You're not going to make money on issues 1, 2, or 3, honestly. He's like, because whatever money you get for 1 is going to pay for the printing and then push to 2. 2 is going to push for 3. 3 will push for 4. And that's maybe when you can start making enough to go and buy a burrito from Taco Bell.
It's so true, and this is why I'm being very, very cautious where I want to launch a comic project, but one of the things is that I am making sure that I am not financially putting myself at risk, and so it might not happen till October because I'm making those decisions and I have other positions that I have to take care of first and foremost. Then I'm not about to sell the farm for to produce what could potentially work. I risk down and I risk mitigate my circumstances. And I think a lot of people don't understand that.
Now, see, a lot of the creators, our friends, know I worked every time I had a chance to work overtime, 18 hours a day. And any of that extra money went to the book. Any of my bonuses I got from work went to that book. We didn't take any vacations last year. It all went to the book. It wasn't a, let's just make a book. No. It was 2 years.
Nobody's going to actually go into making a comic and get away with, let's just make a book. That's not going to happen. I mean, it takes money. I'm not an artist. You're not an artist. No. I mean, I can write the book, but
I can make the stickers.
Well, yeah, which is an expense, which I mean helps us a lot.
Right.
But I mean, we have to pay for all the pens, the inks, the colors, the letters,
the logo. I mean, all this stuff, it adds up, and I don't think first-time creators really realize.
Well, they're going to realize it. I mean, we're not really running a show where we're trying to teach first-time creators how to make books, but I mean, it's all going to happen. I mean, you can't make a book without going through all this. I mean, if you get lucky, you get an artist that you can really work with, and that's great. But it's a big hill.
Yep.
I mean, I have a metal card on my Kickstarter, and that is a straight equity deal. It is a 50-50 equity deal just because I don't have to pay. And he's happy with it because we're not making a lot of money, and he wants metal cards out of the deal. And so my friend's happy about it. I'm happy about it. And it's 50-50 minus costs. And he's thrilled where if we sell all of them, great. We're both making money. If we don't sell all of them and we sell 50 of them, we just split the metal cards. And he is a cosplayer, and this is how it's going to work because he has a distribution system. I have a distribution system. But most artists are not going to do that because most artists don't want an equity stake. It is very rare that an artist wants an equity stake. And, it's complicated because, well, people have to eat. We're not talking Saga. But, that's a whole different ballgame where that's a debate where should artists maybe take an equity stake? And maybe it's not such a bad idea with certain projects. But, again, I'm not here to
But they do get somewhat of an equity stake on.
No, they don't.
Well, but they get their comps.
Well, but that's not an equity stake. I mean, when Sergio did the book for us, when this book's done, he'll have comps.
Mm-hmm.
But he won't make Brink and Fetch without me. I mean, that's not part of his rights. So he doesn't have equity in the book.
So with the metal card, with
our book.
So with the metal card, just so everybody understands, there's a limited of 121 of that. So me and my friend DJ Croft, we're splitting it, and then I'm probably just going to send him the extra one that we split out, unless we get an even number of people buying it. But he can't print that. I can't print additional copies. He can't print a copy of that because it's limited edition. And that's why the equity stake works between me and DJ. And we're both happy with the deal. And he's like, yeah, I'm in. And it was easy because I've known DJ for about 2 years now. And so obviously it's one of those circumstances. But at the same time, artists, if I'm an artist, I got bills to pay, and that's why they don't want equity, because to get a return on a position, it could take 3, 4, 5 years. And, well, very few artists can afford to do that, to some degree. It's different when you have merchandising rights and a variety of other things. But again, I'm not going to go into all that because I'm not an IP lawyer. I'm not a lawyer at all. I'm good with my money, and that's about it. And I know how to speak on a podcast, and I know how to edit videos to put up on Instagram. That's as far as my expertise go. And I'm also very good at investing in comic books. But again, that's a whole different discussion, and that is so far out of covers. So obviously, I do want to talk about more covers, and this is what happens on my show. And I don't know which cover this is, but this is cool.
Chris Mad's cover.
See, nudity would ruin it. It really would.
Right. It did make sense to have it nude. It was so amazing and cute, and it was perfect.
Like nudity would ruin it. It would be horrific. Like if you made this cover nude, it would ruin it. Like legitimately, it would just be so bad.
It would be out of place. It would be odd. It wouldn't make sense at all. So I'm perfectly good with what it is. I mean, it's a good cover. People are backing it, so I mean, it worked out, and it's really good art. We really lucked out. We got all really good artists.
And then because I love this cover, and I just think nudity would ruin it. I think that there is a point where there is better things left to the imagination. I also think it just wouldn't make sense to have it nude like this cover, guys. And this is the day I get kicked off YouTube, Facebook, and anywhere else. So clearly, I'm sure Instagram is going to love this one too. But yeah.
But that's a fun cover. You know what I mean? And the same with the Steph Wilson. They're fun covers. We have serious covers. We have homage covers. We ran the gauntlet.
This is another one. Where
Justin Hunt.
This is the Hex Girls for you. Whether Justin Hunt wants me to say that or not, this is the Hex Girls from Scooby-Doo. Clearly. This is Justin Hunt is never coming on this show after that statement.
No, that's what we wanted.
Somebody else had the same thought as me. I literally had the same thought.
That's our daughter saying, that's what I thought too. That's the Hex Girls from Scooby-Doo. Right.
I'm like, no, I'm not going to sing it, but every time I look at it, that's the song that I hear in my head when I look at that cover.
Oh, it's great. It's the Hex Girls, and also, I don't know if you've seen Tom's cover that he did that's 360. Mm-hmm. It's very similar to that, where if you legitimately just took this and then put it from a 360 angle, that'd be cool too. Because it reminds me of that in a lot of ways as well. So, but I think it's the Hex Girl. Whether Justin Hunt was intending that or not,
But I love it. I mean, it is so it kind of dates it a little bit. I mean, there's a boombox in it.
I mean, I think it's a great one. I also think it's just fun. I think it's Halloween-esque, and then it's a fun cover. And I know 2 out of the 3 girls on that cover. So obviously, this is sort of a spoiler alert for everybody, and we're not going to know what it is.
This is the only cover that has a character that's not Brink or Fetch. So.
Yeah, and we're not going to say any more on that. We're just not going to say any more on that.
Okay, we will say one more thing. It took Chuck convincing Mike it's okay to have an extra character that's in the book on the cover without saying who they are.
Which saying even that is more than we needed to say. We're okay.
Okay.
It's all right. It's all right.
Over here in the corner.
You can take shots at Chuck. It's all right. Chuck can take it. Just because Chuck will never be on my... Chuck actually did buy something off my Kickstarter, so I'm going to be seeing Chuck a lot next year, most likely. Which I enjoy seeing Chuck. And
prayers to Chuck right now. He's got the Rona. Wendy told on Facebook already.
Okay, but that's not for us to share.
That's with this prayer study, I hope he feels better.
But I look forward to seeing Chuck whenever I could see Chuck, and I don't get Chuck in enough on my show just because I'm so busy and he's doing so much stuff, and I will only do him at 10 o'clock at night on Tuesday, just purposely. I'm gonna take him away from his show because clearly that's the way we rumble in the jungle here.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna get him away from his show, so
you could try.
I was an early guest on his show too a while ago, so that was a fun episode. That's like a rare occurrence of.
You guys should consider doing like dual podcasting, having each other on each other's show as it's airing.
That'd be a cool idea. What we should really do is that we should have Josh, me, and Chuck do it all at the same time. We should all just be on 3. That would be something cool. And then we should find a 4th person and get Travis in on it, and then we should just all do it like.
No, Travis does his own thing on Wednesdays now.
So we should all figure out how to do it. It'll be great. It'll be such a good time. And I will forego an episode on my show if the 3 of them agreed, and it would be such an interesting if we could all just simulcast it. Oh, it'd be so cool. It'd be so cool.
Oh no, it'd be funny because you all be interviewing each other as the interviewers. And then you could ask questions about, as you run your podcast, blah, 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 blah.
And then we should all have 4 separate intros at the exact same time. Oh, it'd be great. It would be so good. But I digress here because I do want to talk about one more.
It would be lovely chaos. But see, we have stable, normal. We have chaotic craziness.
I would monetize
it. Normal tends to work.
Yeah.
Chaos sometimes breaks down.
So there is one more cover I want to talk about, and that is
for the Taco Bell.
Epic Steph Wilson, some big dog ink homage, maybe Penny for Your Soul, if I am correct.
Yes, it is Penny for Your Soul.
It's the first book I got from Tom Hutchinson. Well, I didn't get it from Tom Hutchinson. It's Tom Hutchinson's first book that we bought from Amazon.
So what is the story behind this? Because obviously it's your book. It's Steph Wilson. Steph Wilson's done a bunch of work for a bunch of people. I love Steph's new school style. And obviously I'm a new school guy. And I appreciate new school tattooing. And I think that that's how you describe Steph's work at the very least. Pin-up new school is his style in a lot of ways. And I love it. And so what was this like, paying tribute to Tom, getting Steph on it, and just having a banger of a cover?
Yeah, we talked to Steph about some different ideas that he could do, and he talked to us about what he could do. And Steph has a style that people really seem to like, and Trish is one of those people. And we started talking about what really got me into indie comics, and as far as the indie people that, we're spending a lot of time with nowadays, Tom Hutchinson, Jim, Chuck, Travis, Dustin, Wendy, CB. The first real thing that happened with that was World Goth Day came up on my Facebook. And I was like, oh, that looks interesting. And I looked over the titles that were on World Goth Day, and I was like, well, there's a number of titles here. I got to select one and run with it because I like to get the story. And I was like, well, this Penny for the Soul looks like, the most interesting book to me. And I wrote Tom. I don't know how I actually found him, but he was obviously involved with the World Gotthe stuff. And when I wrote him, because I looked back on my messages, I didn't even realize he was the writer of it. I hadn't paid that much attention to it. So I'm writing him like he's a fan, and I'm like, hey, how do I get the issues and stuff? And well, he'd let me know that they were sold out, and I told Trish that I was sad because it was sold out. And Trish started diving onto the internet looking for it and found it on Amazon, so it wasn't super hard to find. But Tom said I lucked out because that trade paperback is sold out. And that's the first book that I really got from the indie people that we're spending so much time with now. The reason we're making a comic is because these indie people. And Steph's like, we could homage it. And I was like, that sounds great. And then when we got it, Trish cried because Trish loves Steph's work. And
I'll cry now because I love Steph and Carrie Ann. They're amazing people.
Well, you don't got to cry now. You got to hold that off for important times.
Okay.
But so I mean, really, it just all the things fell into place. I mean, I asked Tom, so I let Tom know, I'd like to homage one of your covers. He's like, sure, go ahead. Tom was really good about it, and the rest is history. Steph made us a couple covers.
Yep.
And then obviously I just showed this one. I'm going to show it again. And then you have the nude version of it. And obviously I'm going to just say something, and bear with me, everybody. The lollipops are not part of it. Now, I think it would be awesome, and this would be an amazing stretch goal, and anybody can steal this, is if you actually, somebody, when they bag and board it, put the lollipops on the bag and board. That would be an amazing touch. I'm just saying that like if you do like 10,000, you have to do it because it's so brilliant. It's so brilliant. And it's just such one of those little things because somebody's going to take a picture of it and it's such a tweetable moment. But all jokes aside here, what was this like? Because,
but so like with the whole Tom, we saw Tom and Jim, who to us are like normal guys, and they like are making this work for them. And that's really what gave Mike and me the courage to say, we can give this a try. We might not succeed, but I don't think we're going to fail so bad that, we're out.
Well, we're going to make a book.
Yeah, we're going to make a book.
We're not probably going to make, Wolverine money yet.
No.
But we will have a published book.
Mm-hmm. And so seeing Tom and Jim, it really gave us a lot of courage that we could do this too.
And by the way, Jim's in the last 30 minutes of his Totally Rad Kickstarter.
Yeah, I back that. He owes me a bunch of books. He owes me like a bonus book or two or like 5 at this point. I'm just saying. And I said it to him on my show last week. So, he knows I want one.
Well, no, Rob, one of our friends, he's like, I'm looking for the clown outside the door, still no sign. And I'm like, is that a pun at Jim? And he's like, maybe.
There's certain things in which that I enjoy Totally Rad, and I think Totally Rad is a very cool company, but I just won't buy any nude books from them just because I actually like their tame books more. I like more to the imagination. And I'm too much of a trained investor at this point. It's like a deficit of me where I am a comic book guy, I'm a comic book investing type of guy, and I just know there's real money in all of these books.
So did you get the ones where he's got the girls with the pressed up boobs in the CGC?
That would be a nude version. There are no pressed up boobs that are not nude.
Oh, okay.
So he's already answered your question.
I love the concept that he did, and he knows I love the concept because I liked when Valiant did their CGC covers, and I think what he did with his CBCS covers is so brilliant. And it was the back end, unless you saw it, where I was saying you now just made a holder a part of the art. It's so meta. It is so meta, and it is so just like a new level.
Breaking the fourth wall.
Thought process. So there you go with my thought on that. But yeah, no, I'm not picking any of that up because all this stuff eventually at some point in my business and what I do, will be sold, whether that's in 3 years or 12. You know, it's just the way my nature goes. And so, you know, again, it just tackles and deals with thread of business for me.
So with the selling of your books, do you do, besides online, do you do cons too?
I don't. I am strictly eBay. It is easy, and when I'm shipping out like 40 books on eBay, go to the post office, have a nice time with it, and then I have a blast selling comics on eBay, and it works.
Oh, no, you need to get Pirate Ship, dude. They come to the house and pick everything up.
I mean, I used to have stamps.com, but what wound up happening is that I took 3 months off, and so I sort of canceled stamps.com. And then, you know, obviously that's how it works. And then, you know, it's just easiest just to go to the post office.
Oh, there's no fee with Pirate Ship.
Trish.
Okay.
You don't have to add it.
I digress. I'm just saying, with me making buttons, I love Pirate Ship.
Well, I'm going to leave soon because I'm hungry.
Oh yeah, we should.
And where we were talking covers, now we're talking Pirate Ship.
Okay.
And Pirate Ship doesn't pay us any money.
No, they don't.
They're weirdos that should probably give us profits because of how many times you brought them up.
There are so many companies that owe me money, and this is why I have a sponsor. And you missed my sponsor, Begtson, guys. Use them to print your comics, or BCW Supplies, because everybody needs to bag and board their books, and 10% off Pop Anime Comics. But obviously, we spoke about a lot of stuff. You know, you got a lot of covers. Obviously, the Steph Wilson's a really cool one. I actually really like this one myself more than I like the Steph, but the Steph is great as well. And then, obviously, I'm going to show this because I think that I'm still allowed on YouTube and Facebook to show this. And
those lollipops are certainly sized to avoid any problems with Facebook. I listened to Tom when he said, just make sure it's completely covered. I watched Lewis have a Kickstarter that was too hot for Kickstarter, and I was like, I don't want to go that route. I'm making big lollipops.
So obviously, joking aside, and I do like lollipops. I like a lot of things. You know, I like some big jugs of milk. And The Rock likes the people strudel, but that's not here nor there. So having said all that, and before I incriminate myself, obviously I do want to talk briefly about Kickstarter, COVID cons, you know, and where do you think the entire, you know, con world is going and COVID's going with, and even how Kickstarter and sustainability of Kickstarter, because those are real questions that a lot of people are very hot button issues. This is the most controversial thing we're going to talk about the entire interview.
Well, okay.
Go ahead.
I think it's fair you let me, for a minute, go with this. Trish would love to do cons. Like, she would love to have started doing cons months and months ago. We don't have a book, so we wouldn't be selling a book. And there's a table fee at every con, and that table fee is pretty big. And Trish can make buttons, and we have back issues we could sell of comics that, you know, I don't no longer need. But really, doing cons for that just means paying the table fee is going to be a large percentage of your weekend. And, you know, I've tried to convince Trish that working and giving product away to pay the table fee isn't actually making money. So we need real books to be selling at the things. So from other creators that, you know, after they're several books in, they can start to make their table fees by selling their product. So
I am of a whole different mindset. So my business is legitimately pivoted completely digital. I love the fact that I'm going to always be online, and I have an eBay store and I'm doing really well in buying and selling comics. I haven't produced a comic, and I am increasing my digital footprint massively, where my digital footprint in 2020 expanded by 10x. And then I think it expanded again by 8x in 2021 on top of that 10x. And this year I'm trying to expand it at least by 5x. And so obviously if I produce a comic, I don't think I'm ever going to go to a con because I just don't see the money there. Now I'll go and lecture at a con when I'm getting, because I used to do a lot of panels, I got a free ticket. And so I go do my free panel, I would have a blast, I'd do 2-3 panels, I would record my panels and put them on the internet, which is really how I got attention and how I was doing my social media and all that stuff. But I'm not going to buy a table. That makes no sense to me on a business level, because if I'm making money on eBay, my theory is that I want people to only have one venue they could buy my stuff from, and they have to subscribe to that venue. And so if I'm at a con and then in 2 weeks I'm at another con and you can get it on eBay, I'm dividing myself versus driving full attention to one force. And
No, and see, I want to do cons. I like to socialize. If anybody what tells you I got a mouth to gab and I love to talk, and I really would just want to go back to the cons to see my friends and just to visit. But
we don't need a table to talk to people.
No, we don't need a table, but because of Mike's health, as long as COVID's getting a little bit under control, I'd love to start hitting the comic scene again. But Mike's health and my health are a little bit more important than visiting with friends.
You see, that's the whole thing too, is that I'm extremely lazy. I just don't sit around comics or selling comics. I have other things going on, and I want to watch anime. I want to read comics. I want to read a book. I would rather go to a bar and hang out with my friends and, order a pitcher of beer and bullshit with my friends at this stage and still make the exact same amount of money that I can make at a con. And that's my whole thing, is that from a business standpoint, because if I want to socialize, I'll find a different way how to socialize completely, and that's just how I view it, is that
your whole business model is set up different than selling your own book. I mean, if and when you bring your own book out, there's advantages to going to a con. If you go to Dallas Con, there are going to be a lot of people in Dallas that end up with your book if you put it out there really well at the con. Where if you're online, you're hopefully going to keep growing your audience, but sometimes your audience,
No, I'll be honest. There are a lot of times Mike's like, "Oh, I like this book because it's what," and I'll be like, "Is that in the budget? Wait, let me see how friendly that author is. Let me see how much they care about their book." And then honestly, that's sometimes how I base something on is a person's personality. It's not just how do I see it on the screen, but who is behind what's on that screen. Well, I based it on other things, not just it's pretty.
Well, yeah, but that's because you're not necessarily going to read it.
Nope.
But that's only half the decision.
No. That's why you get, when you have me and Mike at your table, you get who wants to actually read the book, who wants to look at the cover and see if it's pretty enough to put on my shelf, and who wants to actually get to know you.
So I have a bunch of barometers, and so there are people who I'm not fans of, particularly on Kickstarter, but they're really good artists. And so I'm going to be very honest, and I love Larry Higgins. So this doesn't apply to Larry, but if Larry didn't have a Paul Green or Justin Hunt on his next comic, I'm probably not a backer of Niobe. I think Outbreak is coming, or his next Niobe, because I've seen the Justin Hunt cover, and that thing is the best cover that on that Kickstarter that's coming out. Nothing against any of the other artists. I think Keith Garvey might be doing something, but that Justin Hunt cover is the one for that entire Kickstarter. And I'm backing that solely for that cover. I don't care. The story of Niobe comes second in that circumstance. But there have been Kickstarters where I do not like the creator, but I'm like, you have an amazing artist. And so I completely understand where I'm like, this cover.
And you can look at our covers. We have top tier artists because of that. You know what I mean? I didn't want to cut any corners. I went to the best people I knew, and that were like, okay, Trish, I'll work for you. Oh, great.
We did the best we could do.
Yep, that's right. We did the best we could.
my whole point that I'm making is that I agree completely that it does matter. There are certain people that I will not back their project. And there are certain people, and I'm not going to say who, but there are certain projects that if somebody worked on a book and it's an anthology, I will not back that anthology. Just because there's been rough history with certain people in me, and it's only like 1/17 of the book, and I made it crystal clear to other people, and those other 16 creators suffer because it does matter who's behind books. So if I'm buying something to read it and not to make money, or then that's how I view it as well. So I completely get that argument.
But also in our instance too, our team is our family too. You know what I mean? We have worked together, and I have such mad respect for every person that's worked on this project, and they know I love them. They can call me at any time, and I'm like, what do you need, friend?
Trish, you're an incredibly social person, and we have a large Facebook family that can literally call you at 6 a.m. and not get you.
No, they get
because
you
you're
generally.
not even awake. But they will get me,
Mm-hmm.
and I will go, do you know it's 6 a.m?
But then at 6:30 when I get up, I'm like, hey, I heard you called.
Well, no, I almost always have got you up. Because if somebody calls at 6 a.m, I figure they need you at 6 a.m.
Mm.
So
That's not just the people that worked on our book. That's quite a few
that's
Facebook
anybody
people.
Too. You know, anybody that needs us knows I'm there.
So before I give you a chance to self-promote, I do also want to give you the chance to talk about your scratch and sniff sticker idea, because I want one of those regardless of this thing funds.
But
and
the short elevator pitch, because we're over an hour, I'm eating, whether we're on air or not. My 6 o'clock supper is not 6 o'clock.
I feel so bad. Taco Bell ran so late. I'm so sorry. The scratch and sniff, the elevator pitch for the scratch and sniff is that there was many creators that have all joked about doing it since we jumped onto the screen 3 years ago, roughly about 3. Oh yeah, I'm going to do scratch sniff panty stickers because nobody's done it. Guess what? Trish is doing it. And I have been asked so many times what the smell is, and I'm not gonna. Secret. That's the secret to the sauce.
It will not be a disgusting smell.
No, it's not. It's not bad. I promise.
Some people have said you should do this, and
I don't want to do that. No, because this is an amazing opportunity. That scratch and sniff bra and panty stickers, which Sergio Rios also did the design for them too.
They'll be up on the Kickstarter soon. I'm going to put the stretch goal.
Yeah, the pictures, because we have Jason Dube stickers. We have Steph Wilson Chibi stickers. We have and then when the money on the prize is at to the scratch and sniff.
when you know how many you've got to make, we'll make them. I mean, we're not going to print them, but I mean, all the art's done.
Mm-hmm. All the art's done to them.
Dube stickers are done. The Steph stickers are done.
Yep.
I mean, all we got to do is just print them right on your machine over there. We're good to go. The scratch and sniff bra and panties sets are all done.
Yep. They're all done. They just need to be printed out and sent it up for your pleasure.
Well, even the scents are all bought. We have all that in-house already. You tested it so that you knew it would work out.
I tested it for 3 weeks in Gemini mailers. I put a book in there with the way I packaged my stickers and left it for 3 weeks, opened it up, and there was no cross-contamination. So when you opened the book, it smelled like printer paper, you know what I mean? The actual comic book smell, and then the stickers had their own scent separate.
Their mystery scent.
Right. There was no cross-contamination because I did my research on it. Because I didn't want somebody being like, and you know how comic book collectors are. Why does my book smell like that scratch and sniff sticker? I didn't want that.
No. I mean, honestly, comic book collectors are an odd lot. I mean,
very much.
That smell might be better than what the ink smells like normally. So I mean, they might do better if we actually left the sticker free in the Gemini.
That was my kind of nod to Jim.
Well, I can guess what it's going to smell like, but I'll leave that up to everybody else's imagination because I would still like to be on YouTube and Facebook. And I'm already pushing the line here. And I pushed the line with Jim once already, and I don't know how many more, bulls
I
got.
think I might add that just on as an add-on tier because I've had so many requests. Can we just do that one first as a stretch goal? I'm like, no, because everybody wants that one. That's why it's a stretch goal. Let's stretch to that one.
You're not adding anything. The stretch goals are there. They're
Right,
done.
but they want to buy them separately.
Oh,
The
maybe.
yeah.
So
but that's why I want to get to that. I mean, if you guys really want that, then let's get to that 5,000.
We're coming right along on it.
Yep. Let's get to that 5,000 so everybody can get some.
Obviously, there's a lot of stuff going on here. We spoke about a lot of different things between all the covers, raving, ranting, everything in between, scratch and sniff stickers, and a variety of other things.
Bra and panty stickers. I want to see all my friends sending me
the elevator pitch.
I know. I want all my friends to be like, I scratched my panties today, Trish, and it smelled good. They'll be like, great. Did you scratch?
So clear. This show's going straight downhill. Going straight downhill.
That is literally a message I never want most creators to send me.
Okay.
Clearly, my show is going straight downhill. So obviously, I do want to give both of you or whoever wants to do it an opportunity to self-promote. So where can people find you? Where can people find the Kickstarter? Where can people back it? Where can people support it? And where can people, follow both of you on Facebook, social media, Twitter, Instagram, all that jam?
If you really want to find us, both of us, you're going to find us on Facebook. I have an Instagram. I have a Twitter. I've been on a lot of the other platforms, but I'm not real active on them. I'm going to get on Instagram to look at art mostly and maybe role-playing ideas for my games. That would not be a good way of contacting me. Facebook. You can find me on Facebook. I'm on there every day. Even when I'm sick, I'll at least look at it and go, oh, I'm sick. Trish is very active on Facebook too. So, I mean, that's the easiest way to find us.
And then our Kickstarters are our books on Kickstarter. We have 27 days. I don't know what we're currently up. I think we're at like 2,100
We're over $2,000. We're getting to $3,000.
Three's our goals. So, and then
we're going to get
goals.
there. And then we're going to get to your stretch goals. Make Trish happy. Give her stretch goals. Let her work. Well, I mean, when you can work.
Right. Yes, I would love to get you all scratch and sniff bra and panty sets. Please let me do that for you. Let's get there.
And then obviously
7 days.
And remember, if you send the message to me that you scratched your panties, I'm putting it on Facebook. Don't send it to me.
I will happily accept all those messages on my.
Well, clearly this show is going downhill. It's January, everybody. So clearly between the last 2 weeks on this show where we're going straight downhill. I don't know how much further we can go this year down, but I'm sure I will find a way how to do it. But having said that, obviously, and I've been saying it for the last 2.5 years, and I continue to say it, you have to support indie. And what that means is you have to back people's Kickstarters. You have to share that you back their Kickstarters. You should share out their Kickstarters. You should follow them on social media. Be supportive. Throw them money. Anything else, throw them support. And support, as I already stated, is money, sharing, social media, and also the occasional message saying, hey, I really like what you're doing. I just back, keep going. It goes a long way. And so you got to be doing that, and you also got to be letting people know that you're doing that, because that's the way projects get.
Another way to help creators out there is if you do get Kickstarters, do mail calls, that say, hey, look what I got, and show it, let people know I back that. And that's what we generally do is mail calls to let people know what we backed, because we're not just creators, we are backers, and we were backers first.
Mm-hmm. And then as far as I'm concerned, obviously, Begtson is a supporter of mine and they're a sponsor. Drop my name, Andrew Davis, in the message tab of your first order, 5% off for printing books. BCW Supplies, Pop Anime Comics, POPANIMESCOMICS. 10% off every order that you have. 10% off. I get a commission on that, so help support this show. And then I got my project going up there where I'm funding season 3. So obviously everybody can go check that out and feel free to support it or not. It's completely up to you because I know there's a lot of projects out there and everybody's competing for money. So go do that. And I appreciate any support, whether it's $1 or it's $500. You know, it goes a long way to make content like this happen. I am 81% funded. So obviously every little bit counts and I appreciate support. And on that note, I'm going to give you guys the final word.
Oh, get your scratch and sniff bra and panty stickers from Fetch and Brink. Just want to have fun on Kickstarter. Coming to your house soon. Let me know your smell.
And I don't think I could have said it any better. So that's a wrap right there, everybody.